Hey, it's Kevin DeWitt here. Welcome to another plugin knowledge session. This week we're having a look at a new plugin that I just got from Lindell Audio. It's called the TE-100. It's a tube equalizer. So I got this one on special. I think I had a voucher or something like that from Plugin Alliance. Really cheap. And it's obviously emulating some sort of vintage EQ style with tubes in it. So I thought I'd give it a shot and see if we can get some nice tube effects and a bit of that analog sort of sound introduced onto some audio here. So I haven't tried it yet, so this is my first go at it. So it'll be interesting to see how it functions and how it sounds. So let's get straight into it. All right, so you can see here we've got a pretty impressive interface on here. It's quite large and quite daunting looking. Lots of little, what looks like buttons and knobs and various things like that. So just looking at it, obviously we've got it broken down in a few sections. So we've got some capability here to do some A/B checking. And looking at it, we've got a bit of an input gain and an output gain there, just to simply balance our plugin as we like. We've also got some oversampling here. We've got analog on off, and we can reduce the size of this plugin if we wish. And it's got some calibration settings here. Okay, so the plugin itself is broken up into several sections, which you can see with the sort of line separation here. So our first section here, we've got a low sort of shelf boost section. Then we've got an attenuated low shelf. You can see the little shape there. There's a shelf, and I said attenuated, so it's only in the negative. And it seems to be at 60 hertz. Then we've got a low cut section here, and we've got this middle section here, which is broken up into a low band filter and a high band filter here section. And then over here, we've got a high boost shelf setup. We've got an attenuation shelf in the high range, and we've got a high cut here. Okay, so in the center here, we've got a couple of controls, which seem a little bit confusing first looking at them, but when you read the manual, it makes perfect sense. So we've got a switch here that actually bypasses and unbypasses the entire plugin. But we also have here is a knob control here that can disable all the filters, but keeps the tube amps and the transformers in the signal path. So if we set that to out, our tubes and transformers will still impart some characteristics to our audio, but none of the controls will work. As soon as we bring it in, our controls will start working again. So our low shelf here, as the picture shows, is a shelf. Obviously, we've got some settings of some controls here of what frequency levels we want. We can also set whether it's a 6 dB per octave or a 12 dB per octave shelf. So that's how steep the shelf is. And then we've got our boost control here of how much of a shelf boost we want to do. And anytime we see this lin or linear switch here in each of these sections, it means we are bypassing this individual section if we have it set to lin. Obviously, if we set it to a value, which we can switch our frequency value here, we turn that on. We want to bypass, we bypass that there. And that applies to all of these ones that have a lin setting. So obviously, these are all sort of bypassed at the moment. As I said, we've got an attenuation here that's sitting at 60 hertz, and that's by the manual is a 12 dB per octave shelving filter. So we can only attenuate here for our shelf. We have our low cut here. So as it shows there, low cut, and we can pick which frequency range we want to do a low cut at, and also select our steepness of that cut at 12 dB per octave or 24 dB per octave. Same setting over here on the high cut, but obviously in the opposite. Now we're talking about at the top end. Okay, and again, we've got our frequency settings here, 12K, 10K, etc. 12 dB per octave, 24 dB per octave. We've got a 10 kilohertz shelf here, attenuation again, so reducing. And similarly on the other side, so these are basically just a mirror, but in the opposite section. These are all on the high. So, and here we can boost some high frequencies with a shelf again at 6 dB per octave or 12 dB per octave, and our control there. Okay, then we've got our midsection here. And if we ignore these two controls, which I've already explained, we've got various frequencies in these ranges all along here and a nice little separation here. Okay, and this is an interesting section here because we can boost or attenuate in either of these. So what we have is we have our gain control, and so these basically look at these as two separate entities together. This set of controls here controls this section. This set controls this section here, right? So they're exactly the same. Our gain controls here are how many dBs, and whether that boosts or attenuates depends on these two switches here. So if we click in the red one, we are going to boost based on this value. If we want to cut, we switch it over to the black one, and that's there. And if we put on Lin, then it's bypassed. Exactly the same over here. Now, what frequencies it's determining is based between the red buttons and the black buttons. And again, line between the two. So this control is doing this section, this control doing this section. So they're independent. So if we want to do a low range here, if we click in 60, we click in 300, that means we are doing this shape here, or cut, between 60 Hertz and 300 Hertz. We could go 110, 500, 180, 850, 300, right? Whatever you want to do there. So we could get smaller. We could go 110 to 300. Or we could get extremely big and go 60 to 2.4K. So these buttons are determining what frequency we start at, what frequency we finish at, and hence the width of the range. Now, what it also seems that we're able to do is to click on this value here, which is probably indicating, and this is a best guess here, the midpoint of the frequency range. So if we click on 180, it's gone between 600 and 500. Now, we can actually move our cursor as I've got it clicked in up and down, and that's changing the width. So we can go, if I push up, it gets narrower. So we're going 110 to 300 with our center point at 180. So it's the center of this bump here, 180. And we can click along 300 and we can go wider or narrower. And as we're moving along, it keeps shrinking and shrinking our points there. So we can do that with any of these values here. And then similarly, we've got the same on this side, except we're talking about the higher band now. So we've got kilohertz. And again, we can select the range. We can pick a number and do it in and out there. All right, so that's enough about the controls. It's all pretty simple. Let's actually have a listen now and have a play with some of the settings and see what they do. So what we're going to do first off is I'm going to actually put this in out mode. So we're just going to hear what this does to our audio. So I've just got a bit of an acoustic guitar here. So it's quite subtle, but you can hear a difference as I turn this on with this out. So that's just introducing the tube and the transformer characteristics into the plugin. So I'll just quickly do that again, but it is quite subtle, but there is a difference. I can hear it. All right, let's just bring this in, and I'm just going to play with some settings. I won't talk through everything again. I've obviously talked it through, so I'll just click around, move some controls, get you to just have a bit of a listen to what it sounds like. All right, let's just, I'll just do a quick example of maybe dialing in a setting that I might like and just see what we get out of it and do a bypass, unbypass type arrangement. Okay, so I've just dialed in something quickly, so let's just check it out. So this is before, and then I'll switch it on and off. So there you go. There's the Lindell TE-100 tube equalizer. Check it out. Obviously, it's a bit of a boutique type EQ here, not something that's essential for your mixing plugin collection. But if you're somebody that likes to collect things and likes to emulate sort of tube sounds, etc., this might be something you might look to get at, and especially if you can get it for a bargain price. So yeah, check it out at Plugin Alliance and try a demo of it, see what you think. Let me know in the comments. Hopefully it's been helpful. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.